Next on the news, vandalism at a Queens church. A precious statue is destroyed as the NYPD's hate crimes task force investigates. At least 6 people are dead after a private school shooting as police look for a motive. A different kind of leader. Bishop Brennan didn't let a little rain stop him from being the Grand Marshal of the Lindenhurst St. Patrick's Day Parade.
Thank you.
Plus, a man meets the 3 strangers that saved his life after suffering a heart attack. I'm Jessica Easthope. Currents News starts right now.
They were videotaping this whole thing and they were making a mockery of it, and then they ran off.
Vandals targeting a Diocese of Brooklyn church, and tonight they remain on the loose. The teens destroyed a statue of an angel outside of Holy Family Church in Queens, hurling it to the ground not once, but twice, all while filming on their phones. The pastor, Father Sean Sukiel, says he forgives the vandals, but also wants them held accountable. An act of vandalism, possibly all for show. Teens reach over the fence at Holy Family Church to grab this angel statue and toss it twice, smashing it to pieces.
There are teenagers out there who are doing this and they think it's funny, and it's really not funny. They're hurting people. They're hurting parish patrimony. There's no sense of respect anymore. And it needs to stop.
Pastor Father Sean Sukiel says he hopes it was worth the likes and social media attention because now these kids have the attention of the NYPD. Father Sean wonders if it's all part of a viral social media trend encouraging teens to incite violence and vandalize.
Is this linked to the whole TikTok challenge to destroy schools and bathrooms and church property and to vandalize things? Because these kids think it's a joke.
The act of criminal mischief is being investigated as a hate crime. Over the last several months, 2 churches in the area were also vandalized. Father Sean says he's heartbroken but not shocked as he comforted his parishioners who paid for the statue with donations.
I mean, as Catholics, we believe in angels and saints, and so this statue does mean something for us as we prepare for Holy Week. Just offering words of comfort, letting them know that we're all in this together.
Father Sukiel says the teens who appear to be between 15 and 17 years old are local and that this week police will be searching area high schools to find them. Anyone with information is asked to call the NYPD's Crime Stoppers hotline at 1-800-577-TIPS. Now to a news alert out of Nashville. The search for answers after a mass shooting took place at a Presbyterian elementary school called the Covenant School. So far, 7 people are confirmed to have been killed, including 3 children. The shooter was also killed by police. The local police department is still releasing details about the shooter.
We know that she was armed with at least 2 assault-type rifles and a handgun. They immediately went to the gunfire. When the officers got to the second level, they saw a shooter, a female, who was firing. The officers engaged her. She was fatally shot by responding police officers. There was a 5-member team who was on the second floor at that time. 2 individuals from that 5-member team opened fire on the shooter.
And while the community tries to process the events, First Lady Jill Biden spoke about it in Washington.
I am truly without words, and our children deserve better. And we stand, all of us, we stand with Nashville in prayer.
On a typical day, about 200 students and roughly 45 staff members are at the school. As we get more information, we'll bring it to you. Pope Francis has released an updated version of his motu proprio Vos Estis Lux Mundi, a landmark law meant to counter sexual abuse in the Catholic Church. Kelsey Gussie breaks down the document and the updates released by the Holy Father.
Queridos hermanos y hermanas.
Pope Francis is strengthening regulations in the fight against abuse. He recently published a new version of the motu proprio, Vos Estis Lux Mundi, published in 2019. That same year, Pope Francis established a protocol for filing abuse charges against bishops and priests. In the updated motu proprio, he expands it to include lay people who are accused of committing or covering up abuse. In Vos Estis Lux Mundi, Pope Francis focuses on moderators of international associations of the faithful. He already reformed these institutions by establishing limits on their terms. The new motu proprio specifies that these leaders are legally required to report any form of abuse. The Pope clarifies that each diocese must have offices readily accessible to the public to receive allegations of abuse. In 2019, the document simply required the presence of a stable system. As soon as the diocesan office receives a complaint, they must communicate it to the Vatican, and the bishop must initiate a preliminary investigation where the alleged events occurred. The 2019 text stated that no obligation of silence could be placed on the person reporting the alleged abuse. This updated version strengthens the safeguarding measures for witnesses. Pope Francis stresses that anyone can file a complaint and encourages especially lay people with positions in the church to do so. He upholds the obligation that priests and religious have to immediately report any abuse, except for those disclosed in confession.
That was Kelsey Gussie reporting. One member of the Vatican's Task Force for the Protection of Minors, Cardinal Blaise Cupich of Chicago, is speaking out about the updated document, explaining the progress Vos Estis has made in the fight against abuse in the United States and around the world.
I think that you have seen, at least in the United States and elsewhere, the scandal of abuse surely involved the violation of young people and vulnerable adults. But even a greater scandal was that these allegations were mishandled. And I think that this document is a clear indication that the Holy Father is saying that people in authority in the church are going to be held responsible for how they handle this. And there are specific requirements that they have to observe, but also they have been required to provide their own guidelines for their own country that also involves their own diocese.
Since Vos Estis began, at least 10 U.S. bishops have been investigated, which has led to 2 resignations. There's a confidential toll-free number and website specifically to report abuse or related misconduct by a Catholic bishop. The reporting service is run by an independent third-party entity, and all information reported will be submitted to not only church authorities, but also civil authorities. That number is 800-276-1562, or you can go to reportbishopabuse.org. Catholic leaders are reacting to the expansion of an immigration agreement between the U.S. and Canada. The deal shut down a loophole that enabled tens of thousands of migrants to cross between the countries through a back road between New York State and Quebec. The Jesuit Refugee Service is denouncing the move, saying in a statement, quote, "This is the latest example of the Biden administration putting forth new restrictions to asylum that will harm those already in danger. We urge the U.S. to withdraw and dismiss consideration of any policy that creates new barriers for vulnerable asylum seekers and to implement a fair and humane asylum system in accordance with the long-established values of our country." Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis is changing how students go to school with some significant education legislation. Among the updates, the Universal School Choice Bill removes income eligibility requirements and makes state-funded vouchers universal for students. Democrats are concerned, though, that this will be a handout for wealthy people. But the governor is emphasizing how everyone in a student's family will benefit.
Parents are going to be able to have the ability to get money for their student, for their child, and they can do tuition. They're also going to be able to use it for things like tutoring and for other things that can be very important in a child's development and well-being.
He added that low and middle income residents will benefit first from this new effort. Despite the wet weather, nothing was raining on Lindenhurst's parade. This past weekend, Bishop Brennan was the Grand Marshal of his hometown's second annual St. Patrick's Day March. And as you'll see, the dreary day was no match for the community's Irish pride.
Parade Day in Lindenhurst. This year's St. Patrick's Day celebration saw just as many umbrellas as Irish flags. It was a special homecoming for the parade's Grand Marshal, Diocese of Brooklyn Bishop Robert Brennan.
There were a number of times I've walked down this street, Bellwood Avenue, in parades, usually in either a Cub Scout uniform or a baseball Little League uniform. So this will be a unique celebration.
Good morning and happy Parade Day.
Bishop Brennan, a Lindenhurst native, started the day by celebrating Mass at his home parish, Our Lady of Perpetual Help.
Until we meet again, may God hold you in the palm of his hand.
And with an Irish blessing, they were off. But as soon as the beat of pipes and drums dropped, so did the rain.
We had a wonderful winter, so this caps it off. So, and they timed the parade beautifully with the rain. So
Bishop Brennan marched proudly through the puddles in his Grand Marshal sash, met with a crowd happy to see him back to his roots as they celebrated theirs.
We are so thrilled that that he's able to come back home and that he's here as the Grand Marshal of the Lindenhurst Parade.
With military-like control, the parade moved right on. The rain was no cause for emergency here. Some of the 2,000 people who came out to see the procession were taking it all in stride.
Raining on us a little bit, but it's not stopping the parade. It's still going on, still going strong.
too bad it didn't hold up a little longer, you know, but we'll enjoy the day.
Bishop Brennan was joined in the parade by 1,000 other marchers, and I guess he was the only one who said no to an umbrella. And that wasn't the only parade honoring St. Patrick this weekend. People marched down 3rd Avenue in Bay Ridge to pay tribute to Ireland's patron saint. Bagpipers, the FDNY, and students from St. Patrick Catholic Academy showed their pride. Thousands were in attendance, and luckily for them, they had much better weather. And another reason to celebrate, this time in Queens. That's because St. Pius X Church has reopened. The church was badly damaged by a fire almost 4 years ago, but after a $2.4 million renovation, it's ready for services once again. Bishop Brennan celebrated Mass and also anointed the new altar with chrism oil. From a new church to dozens of beautiful older churches throughout Brooklyn and Queens, the Diocese of Brooklyn is appreciating them all as the Lenten pilgrimage continues. Today, Bishop Robert Brennan and the pilgrims slowed it down a bit, enjoying some silence at Our Lady of Hope Church in Middle Village, Queens. The pilgrims kneeled before the Blessed Sacrament in adoration, the moment of prayer following a Mass celebrated by Bishop Brennan, along with 3 classes from the church's Catholic Academy. During his homily, the bishop encouraged parishioners to focus in as Easter is fast approaching.
As a matter of fact, we're in the last 2 weeks of Lent. Did you know that? Next Sunday is Palm Sunday, right? Sunday is Palm Sunday. We enter into our Holy Week already. Wow, that was fast, right? So these 2 weeks, now it's getting a little serious.
Starting on Ash Wednesday, pilgrims have been visiting different parishes every day for 40 days except Sundays and experiencing the beauty of each church and the community there. And it's not too late to still join them. Just go to dioceseofbrooklyn.org/Lenten pilgrimage for more information. Another group came together, this time to support unborn children. Thousands of pro-lifers showed their support for the International Gift of Life Walk on Saturday. They held a peaceful rally by walking through Manhattan's Foley Square and demonstrate the teachings of the church. Meanwhile, there's also a major change for the Archdiocese of New York. It's named a nun as the new superintendent of schools. Sister Mary Grace Walsh will take over the position. She's replacing Superintendent Michael Deegan, who is retiring after decades of service. Cardinal Timothy Dolan made the formal announcement and praised her for her academic success and leadership. There's a lot more news headed your way. Prayers from the Pope. The Holy Father's message to the people in Mississippi after a devastating tornado rips through the state. A man is introduced to the people who saved him from a severe heart attack. You'll see the emotional meeting. Plus, details on the award ceremony honoring those who exemplify Catholic values in media.
Thank God we're alive, but also we're so devastated by the loss.
Lives lost and homes turned into rubble. Communities are picking up the pieces after a devastating tornado rips through the South. And as people return to see what's left of their homes and community, many are wondering what they'll do next. But as Nick Valencia reports, survivors are simply counting their blessings that they're still alive.
My first time coming back since the storm.
What do you think?
Just blessed to be alive.
As the massive EF4 tornado headed towards his Rolling Fork apartment, Antoine Jones, a local police officer, took cover with his girlfriend in their bathroom tub.
The bathtub left from over us, and the storm actually placed us down where the bathtub was originally.
I mean, you have to think that this is maybe the end for you. You're up in the air, you're floating around.
Yes, sir. We thought we was gonna die. We thought we was gonna die.
Miraculously, both survived with just a few scratches. Then Jones, who was born and raised in Rolling Fork, put on his uniform and went to work.
Once I realized that I was okay, it was time to get into that first responder mode.
A few blocks away, we meet Amanda Kelly and her boyfriend Scotty. In February, she says, she was diagnosed with spinocerebellar ataxia, a Parkinson's-like condition that affects her ability to walk and talk. And now this.
If it was not for Scotty and God, I wouldn't be here. There is no doubt. Because I wouldn't have been able to get from my room to the hallway by myself, and I wouldn't have been able to hold myself down.
You were getting blown away?
I was literally getting sucked up. We both were.
Kelly lost both her walkers in the tornado, along with so much else. But like many here in Rolling Fork, their material possessions are meaningless to them, given the fact they survived when so many didn't.
The house went to shaking, and I said, yeah, it's really serious this time.
For 65-year-old Elijah Washington, this is the third tornado he survived. This one, he says, was by far the worst. Through a smile, he says he's lucky.
I heard somebody moan and said a stick through somebody's head, a couple of legs broke, you know, and stuff like that. So.
And here you are with just a scratch on your finger.
Yeah, a scratch on my finger and walking around. I walked out of here last night. It's just amazing.
Amazing is one word for it. Antoine Jones would rather see his story of survival as a sign from God, and he says he's going to listen.
That was your girlfriend that you were in the tub with?
Yes, sir.
So you got to get married now, you know that, right?
Yes, sir, it's coming. Yes, sir. I can't let her go.
That was Nick Valencia reporting. To make matters worse, more tornadoes may hit parts of the South within the next week. While neighbors and loved ones are checking in on each other, they're also getting support from the Vatican. Pope Francis wants people of Mississippi to know that he's thinking about them. The pontiff prayed for them during the Angelus this weekend. He asked the Vatican crowd to keep the victims in their prayers. A tight-knit community in Pennsylvania got together to pray following the deadly explosion and fire at a candy factory on Friday. Dozens of employees and family members gathered in West Reading to show their support after an explosion at the RM chocolate factory left 7 dead and at least 10 injured. The cause of the explosion is still unknown, and 3 buildings around the site have been condemned as a precaution. And not too far from there, the city of brotherly love is in limbo as people wait to see if their tap water is safe after a chemical spill this weekend. One thing's for sure, people in Philadelphia are safe to use tap water until 11:59 p.m. Monday night. Authorities say that supply was definitely not contaminated. This has prompted residents to buy bottles of water in droves. In the meantime, city officials are reassuring people that the reserved water is clean.
We have enough water within the system, which we are clear has no contamination. And we're also clear there has not been any contamination in the Philadelphia water system.
He added that within the next few days, the water in the Delaware should be okay to use. Well, there's that old saying, never meet your heroes. But for one man who had 3 guardian angels save him from a heart attack, nothing could keep him away. Josh Cristianto has more.
It's a reunion that almost never happened.
Thank you.
58-year-old Thomas Watt had no pulse when Dalian Porter, Nieves Faraz, and Jonathan Furtado stopped their cars on I-80 and ran over to help. Watt had a heart attack and essentially died on the steering wheel. Now, he's praising his 3 guardian angels for their compassion and heroism.
How do you say thank you to somebody that saved your life? I owe them my life, my family. You know, my family's my world, but my 5-year-old daughter's my universe. And
the emotions still fresh and lifelong bonds already forming, including with the 17-year-old Eagle Scout Furtado, who had just been CPR certified a week before the ordeal. Furtado's skills, maturity, and faith steadied Watt's wife, Angela, who was in shock.
I got her to sit down on a cushion at least, and
I was trying to think, okay, how can I calm her down? How can I calm her down? She's quite frantic at the moment.
I feel like the Lord places people in our lives as angels on earth, and that's what I take comfort in.
Last time I saw you, you were blue, and then you become pink.
I don't even remember.
While Watt says he's never asked for help his whole life, it's the help he couldn't ask for that in the end carried him on.
You know, they don't know me. They're trying to go do their own life, and they risk their lives to save mine. I mean, it's just amazing.
That was Josh Cristianto reporting. Thomas Watt still has 3 more weeks of rehab, but doctors already said his heart is cleared of any more blockages. Still to come on Currents News, we'll see who received high awards for standards of hope, humanity, and healing in media. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. Just when you thought awards season was over, some more golden statues were handed out last week. The Christopher Awards honor books, films, and TV shows that showcase themes of hope, generosity, and quiet heroism. The Catholic organization honored 21 writers, producers, directors, authors, and illustrators during this year's ceremony. Let's take a look at a few of them. In television, some of the shows receiving awards were Apple TV's Amber Brown, CW's A Walton's Thanksgiving, and The Gift of Peace on Hallmark. A mix of adult books and children's books were recognized by the Christophers, including Father Ed and an Abraham Lincoln-themed book called And There Was Light. And finally, in film, 2 documentaries were awarded for their work, The Best We've Got, the Carl Erskine story, and Mother Teresa, No Greater Love. If that last movie sounded familiar, it's because Currents News gave you a sneak peek of the movie before its theater release last October. The documentary Mother Teresa, No Greater Love features archival footage and interviews with dozens of commentators who knew Mother Teresa personally. Let's take a look.
She was strong. She was firm. She was a tough cookie. She was tough in Jesus. She wanted to love until it hurts.
She hated publicity. She suffered the celebrity, but she accepted it if it was going to help the poor.
We also heard from one of the voices in the film, Father Donald Haggerty from St. Patrick's Cathedral. He spoke to Currents News anchor Christine Persichetti about Mother Teresa's legacy.
Legacy is not so much in the past. She is teaching us again, through this documentary, be good to the poor people. You have a sense of how deep this woman's faith was when you watch her on film. This very great depth of conviction about the reality of God. And I think you can't be not touched spiritually by watching her.
Produced by the Knights of Columbus, Mother Teresa, No Greater Love had its Vatican premiere on August 31st, ahead of its release to more than 900 theaters in October. For more info on how to watch Mother Teresa, No Greater Love, just go to their website, motherteresamovie.com. And that is Currents News. I'm Jessica Easthope. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.